So I've got Chaos Warriors on my case, pretty much a full stack of them. How can my Cathay army deal with this, as they have a bunch of advantages over me? So in this situation, I'm actually being besieged by this large army. One of my minor settlements is under attack. I've got the garrison and a stationed army inside, and I've sent this little lord to actually attack the army, which means she's left facing the entire Doomstack herself. But she'll be okay. We've got her in the trees for now. We're going to wait for the reinforcements. It's a big, long line of Chaos Warriors, which is very likely to envelop me if we're in the wrong position. But you can see I've got two armies coming. But the problem that this big stack of Chaos Warriors brings is that it has a couple of strengths against me that are going to be tough to deal with. Firstly, they're just incredibly heavily armored, and I'm a faction that doesn't have a ton of armor piercing. Secondly, my army's main strength is missiles, and they have a big old silver shield that blocks 55% of missiles. So if I try to gun them down from the front, their missiles are going to block more than half of my ammo. Another issue I face is that this is a big long line, and if it comes at me in a big long line, it's probably going to be able to envelop me potentially and get round behind my army with these edge units, and if they disrupt my missiles and stop me from firing, I'm in trouble. I need to get my missiles and my ammo to do a lot of work here, otherwise we're going to lose. So we've got a few challenges to face and deal with here. My reinforcements and my main armies basically are nearly arriving. We'll fast forward to get them here. Now, we've got a couple of advantages though. It's not all bad news. There are some good things that we have going for us. One being that we have attacked the enemy army, so they're going to play the defensive game because the AI is a bit silly and doesn't realize the advantage it has here. If it rushed me now and waited for my reinforcements, they would absolutely destroy me. So lucky for me, the AI is just going to sit back because they are technically the defender because I attacked them. So we've got some time. And with this precious time, we can look to find a strategic advantageous position on this map. Luckily, we've got the perfect map for us because there's a whole bunch of rocky little choke points that we can wedge ourselves into. One here, one here, one here, even at the edges here. So that's where we're going to make a dash for, so we can get in that choke point, because if I try to fight them where I am now and they charge at me, they're probably going to get that envelopment on me because they've got so many more melee units to flank around on me with. So we're going to use this choke point, which means they won't be able to flank us, at least not easily, and that gives us much better chances. Another advantage we have going for us is that the Chaos Warriors' damage output is generally pretty slow. They don't output damage quickly, they don't have a ton of weapon strength or melee attack, they don't have armor piercing, so their damage output is fairly slow. They're supposed to be a tanky holding unit, right? So we don't have to worry about any mad damage output coming our way, which is great for our frontline unit of Jade Warriors, who are a fantastic holding unit themselves. And as you can see, I've positioned them and the rest of my army between these two little rock faces, creating a handy choke point. I've got these Celestial Dragon Guard who are going to be ready to fill any holes, as well as these Peasant Spearmen who can do that. If the Jade Warriors start to struggle, they can go and help out. I've got some Jade Halberds on the right hand side and some cavalry that's going to push out just to be a bit of annoyance. I'll bring these out wide somewhere and just try to get some hammer and anvil maybe if I can. So I've got my Jade Warriors here, and they're going to be looking to hold everything in place for my missiles here off at the sides specifically to try and wear down, because the Jade Warriors aren't going to do a ton of damage either, especially to that thick armor of the Chaos Warriors, so it's going to be up to the missiles. Now what I need to do is get the enemy army to attack me, which is what I'm trying to do here. I just used a Fire Breath spell from one of my lords. It was never going to do much damage because fire spells are rubbish against armor, but I'm just trying to get them to come and attack me. Because they are the defender, they will just sit there until I attack them, unless I start to do a little bit of damage on them, and then they will push for me. So I tried to use that spell. I thought maybe it would do enough to bring them out, but it hasn't. So I'm going to bring down some peasant bowmen and just try to shoot them a little bit until they start to all charge at me, which should take just a couple of volleys to annoy them, or at least to get some damage on them, and then they'll come and charge at me. Because that can be the problem. If you're the attacker but you want to play defensive, you need to make the enemy army come to you somehow, and this is how you can do it, because the AI will play defensive if it is the defender, even when it doesn't make sense to. And we can see this plan has worked, because now the enemy army is mobilizing to come and get me, so I'm going to pull those peasant bowmen back as quickly as possible. I use peasant bowmen specifically because they're cheap. If they did get caught by something and destroyed, it wouldn't matter too much. So going to bring them back. They should be fine though. There is some cav moving up, but we should be able to shoot them. It's only skirmish cav. But it's go time for the front line. The Jade Warriors are looking to just hold all of these Chaos Warriors in place for as long as possible. And now the important point here is that my missiles need to get their missiles flying in from preferably the sides and back. We're letting a few volleys go off here, but I'm looking to position them so that they can get a clear line of sight to at least the sides of the Chaos Warriors, because then their shields won't come into play and they won't be able to block many of our missiles. So I'm going to retreat my Jade Warriors back up the hill just a little bit so I can get a better line of sight for my missiles. My Jade Warrior Crossbowmen over here, they should have a nice sideways on attacking point for all these missiles. If I were just to sit behind my front line and shoot them from the front in this direction, they would be blocking a lot of my missiles. And as I say, that ammo is going to go to waste. You can see all those silver shields. That's going to save them a lot of damage. So we need to hit them from the sides so we can make their shields not matter. I can't do it so much on this side, but if I shoot the units that are farther away, I should have a better chance of hitting them in the side. So that's what I'm going to try and do. But another key part of my positioning and my terrain here is the height advantage I have. When your troops are elevated above the troops that they're fighting, so you're making the enemy troops fight uphill while your troops are fighting downhill, your elevated troops will do up to 30% more damage and take up to 30% less damage, depending on how high they are above the enemy. And it's the same idea for missiles. They'll do 30% more damage from elevated positions, and they'll take 30% less damage if shot by enemy missiles. So be like Obi-Wan and take the high ground. Now, one of the key units for me here is the Celestial Dragon Crossbowmen, because they're one of my few units that have armor-piercing damage. So it's important to position them well. On this other side, there's a few units coming. I put some peasants over here. I'm just looking to hold back this side for now. I'm not worrying about it too much. This big clump that's coming, that's what I've got to worry about. We've got a nice angle on them, though. We're getting the missiles going, and I have an army ability, which you're about to see come down. This is going to do a lot of work for me. As the AI likes to stack up on itself and turn into a big clump, it makes itself susceptible to this. There's 3 units pretty much wiped out from that army ability. Lucky that I had that. But still, our missiles have to do the work and finish the job. The favor bar was about even. That knocked it in our favor just a little bit. So that's gaining the advantage. Using the fire spells here, not doing a lot, but got to do something with my magic. Got my lords in there, just trying to throw down as well. We've got to wear down these Chaos Warriors. They're starting to break through a little bit on this right side because of that spell. I probably hurt my own unit quite a bit. So I'm going to fill that hole with the Celestial Dragon Guard, and they will keep holding them back so the missiles can keep doing the work. Because I kind of got to keep an eye on the 3 units here, 3 units of Jade Warriors. If one of them starts to thin out and looks like it might rout, I need to support it and bring another unit in there to help keep it alive. The missiles still getting some nice angles here, though. The armor-piercing Celestial Dragon Crossbowmen doing a lot of good work here. Getting a lot of enemy routing now. Still some healthy stuff on the left side, though, so we still got to wear those down. Also, this attack on the right-hand side is still coming. This isn't a huge worry, though. It does have the armor-piercing Great Weapon Chaos Warriors, but luckily they came to that side. If they came to the front and were one of the first units to attack my frontline boys, we may have had a much harder time holding that front line because their armor-piercing damage would probably go through my Jade Warriors fairly quickly. I do have these cabs back here as well. They're going to look to hammer and anvil when I remember to. A couple more units coming up that side, but otherwise, we've mostly got the job done here. We used the choke point, we used the high ground, we let the AI clump up a bit and use that spell. Now we're going to finish them all off with the missiles. So we forced the enemy into piling all the units into the back of each other so that they bunched up, which made that spell extra nice and took out like 3 units. We wouldn't have been able to do that if we were out in the open field. They probably would have spread out more. And then we tried to take the angles with our missiles so we could hit the units in the sides and avoid their shields, making sure that our missiles don't go 50% or more to waste. Still got this little group attacking us on the right side, but like I say, they're not a big deal. Once we've taken out the main bulk of the army, they're going to have to face the rest of my army, so they're pretty much going to be done for. Just got to rout off these remaining frontline units. They're mostly depleted now from all the blasting of missiles. Going to bring these cabs around to hammer and anvil this lot to try and get rid of them, and that should be enough to finish the day. Going to get the missiles firing in there now, but of course the shields are going to be saving them a little bit, apart from the great weapon versions. They don't have a shield. Last few bits to go here. Nearly got their lord dead. All the missiles are providing a leadership debuff as well, so that's going to help in this situation while they're fighting in melee too. And we're just about done. In comes the hammer from the cav, routs these units on the right, and that is the victory. Although we're going to chase off these units, so it's not going to say victory yet, but we've won this battle, we've got the job done, we've used the high ground, we've shot our missiles into the side of all that armor, and claimed victory this day. Let's take a look at the numbers though, and see which units were really pulling their weight. How much damage did the missiles really do? So looking at our main army, we've got our Lord, who probably didn't do a lot. Celestial Dragon Guard, 500. A little bit from the infantry. Obviously, they were mostly holding stuff. Celestial Dragon Crossbowmen, there you go, 1,700. They did a lot of work there. 700 crossbowmen, 500 crossbowmen, 700 crossbowmen, 500 peasants. Even the peasants getting 500. So the missiles doing a lot of work there. Another 200 and nearly 500 for that one. So as you can see, the missiles certainly pulling their weight and allowed us to beat this Chaos Warrior Doomstack. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the future.